Anambra, and thank you so much for staying put. My name is Nonya Nwokoye, and welcome. Growing up, we were told that old age is a blessing. But what we see these days, I wonder whether some younger generations want that blessing to get to them. And that's why we have come today with respecting the aged and embracing bold aging. This is in commemoration of the 2025 World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. You're welcome to the show.
Good, welcoming you to the show. Our guest is well seated here. We have our guest, none other than Josephine Anene, MNI, founder, Alzheimer's Disease Foundation, ADF, coordinator, Ignatius Akubude Center for Senior Citizens, Amobia. She's also the co-chair and facilitator, NSCC, Senior Citizen Stakeholders Consultative Forum, Anambra State.
Is also the zonal coordinator, of course, Roping, former Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development. You're welcome to the live studios of Good Morning Anambra, Josephine and Nene. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, all of you. Good morning, audience.
All right, Mommy, when we talk about aging gracefully or old age or whatever it is called, like I said in the opening, that growing up we were told that old age is a blessing and everyone look forward to getting old before death comes knocking. Now, I know that you've been on this earth for quite some time. Tell us how it feels, getting old.
That's a good question. And I don't feel different from how I felt when I was 5 or 10 or 15. Aging starts from the cradle. Once you're born, you've started the journey to the end of your life. And we all pray that we will stay so many, many days on earth. And for me, you just grow and become. And I don't feel any different, actually. Except that, well, physically, there are some changes. I don't look as plump as I used to look before. When I look in the mirror, I don't have the strength, muscle strength as I used to have. Because when I was in school, I used to run and do high jump and hurdle and all that. But I find now that it's almost impossible to do. So I noticed that, but it doesn't bother me. It just doesn't bother me. And I enjoy not being able to do it anyway.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. We're talking about the 2025 theme for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. That's talking about where beyond age may seem a bit abstract at first, but it's actually a powerful and deliberate choice. Here is what it likely means. Interpretation of beyond age. Elder abuse is a human rights issue, not just an aging issue. The theme encourages society to look past the age of the victim and recognize that elder abuse is fundamentally a violation of human rights. It's not just something that happens to old people, it's abuse, and that's the way we see it. And still going on, focus is on, and not just the age. Beyond age suggests that the older persons are more than just their age. They are a whole human being and with dignity, rights, voices, and agency. The theme pushes back against ageist attitude that reduce older adults to stereotypes of treat them as in treating them as burdens. So that's why we're having this call for generational solidarity. Abuse of older persons is not just an issue for the elderly to fight. It's something that everyone must care about. Government, families, communities, non-governmental agencies, the young people too. So the theme is inviting all to act beyond generational boundaries? Well, for those of you that are seeing me here, this gray hair you see on my head is because of my interaction with the elderly, right from when I was much young. So it's imbibed in me to respect the elderly. Now, talking about this we have here, how are you going about instilling, inculcating this idea into the generational bridge boundaries that you want to close up so that kids can get to understand that being old is a privilege and a blessing?
Thank you. And I want to correct something that you said now, that your gray hair and your gray beard is because of your interaction with elderly people. Please, young people, that's not true. You can gray either because you don't have the color in the hair. There is something, anybody can gray at any age. I've seen people graying at, from birth. And then, of course...
That was on a lighter note anyway.
Yes, and of course, when you are old, you will gray. So I don't want people to run away from older people thinking that when they come near us, they will become gray. So I have to correct that impression.
But gray is fashionable now. But you see young people even going to salon to look.
So dye their hair, bleach their hair. So anyway, that's on a lighter note. So how do we let people know that it is wrong to abuse the elderly? It is what ABS is doing today. As an organization, ABS has taken it upon themselves to throw light on this menace, on this bad behavior. And you have put up this program and invited myself, and I'm sure so many others. And of course, from what you have read, I see that people have researched into it very well. So that's one way. Media, using the media to spread the information, to spread the news. Because what we noticed is that some people who abuse the elderly do not even know that their actions or inactions constitute the abuse we are talking about. And some elderly people don't even know when they are being abused. So programs like this, thank you ABS, that you put up, helps to educate and enlighten the populace about elder abuse. Elder abuse, like you rightly said, it's not just about the older person because the person is old. Abuse is abuse, and it's a human rights violation. It's a very serious human rights violation. And luckily, we have the Nigeria Human Rights Commission already in place in Nigeria, where one can report, such cases of abuse. We have the police. We have laws that, that prohibit people from, assaulting people, beating people, causing grievous bodily harm to them and all that. We have agencies that look after that. And we have our communities. That is where I want to place my emphasis on. In the past, the community was the police, actually, was the conscience, really, of people. And if any incidents of elder abuse occurred in the past, you will find that the community will rise and deal with that person seriously. Sometimes even up to ostracizing that person from the community. So we cannot continue the way we are going now, the values that we cherish, the things that we used to do as a people, as a community, we've abandoned everything, and we are looking up to let the government do, let the police do that and all that. Whereas we are shaking our responsibility, which is a wrong thing to do. Elderly care should be a community initiative. Everybody in the community should be involved in it and care for the elderly. And if you catch anybody abusing the elderly, deal seriously with that person.
All right, ma. We know that there's this saying that respect is reciprocal. And of course, there's a quotation in the Bible that says that parents should not provoke their children. Now, I want to come this way to really find out if there is anything that maybe your parents, because those abused, so most times it's the children that abuse their parents and vice versa. Is there anything that will warrant a child to abuse the parents or the elderly person, no matter what that elder does? Is there anything that will warrant an abuse of an elder?
Well, I think it stems from stereotyping, because people believe that when one is elderly or older, that they have lost their senses. They've lost, they are not strong, and that, both physically and mentally. That's a stereotyping. That is a very wrong impression. So because the younger person feels that, the elderly person is not as strong as they are, they can challenge that person. I have experienced it in the sense that there was one little girl that was around and was misbehaving, and I tried to caution her. And I said to her, "We beat you." She stood there and said, "You can't beat me." I said, "How do you know I can't beat you?" I said, "I will beat you. I have my stick. He said, "I will run away." I said, "Then I will run after you." He said, "No, you can't. You can't run after me." So you see, that's the impression. They feel that the older person cannot, is limited, is restricted, is weak, and all that. They also feel that the older person, some people feel that once you're old, you cannot reason properly. And that is the type of abuse we are talking about. We find when an elderly person comes to the house and there are younger people, they are having a conversation. The elderly person, mother or father or uncle or auntie, wants to contribute. What do you hear them say? "Please, Mama," or "Please, Papa, leave this thing. It's not you don't know what you're talking about. This is not what you are talking about.
It's not obtainable anymore.
It's not obtainable by everyone. It's old."
That, ma'am, even at that, do you have any right to abuse an elder?
Nobody has any right to abuse anybody. Whether it's an elder or a younger person, nobody has any right to abuse anybody. And that is why, even as we are saying that here today, we are talking about elder abuse. We are trying to throw light on the fact that the abuse is not even only meant for elders. Any abuse is an abuse, and it's a violation of the human rights of that individual, and it is prohibited. We have laws prohibiting that. We have cultures, norms, and values prohibiting that.
Oh, okay.
Is
Now
to be abused.
We talked about community earlier on, which I said earlier that before we came on camera, that I've witnessed one when I was much younger. And one begins to wonder why those things are no longer in place. A situation whereby if you beat your parents, you'll be ostracized from the community. It has happened in my community. And that guy left the community for a very long time. And somehow it served as deterrent to others that may want to
do the
same thing. So today we no longer see such things. Now, even in my own community, I've never seen it happen again after that one. What do you think is going on, and what should be done so that we see if we can reconstitute such laws in our various communities to check these things?
Well, it is the general breakdown of communities' values and what we value, what used to be our norms, our practices. We have jettisoned all that, in favor of what we think is modern, what we think is jettisoned what is our own values. So the thing is, for us, as we are talking, ABS, you have a lot of educating to do, educate the community. So go back to what made us tick. What when you see a Nigerian or an African, what makes that person an African? We are not English or European people. We have our values, we have our cultures, we have our norms. We are not to a people where my son or my daughter will call me Josephine. It's not done. But in Igbo land, it is done. You call your father, Tom, Abi? You call him by his first name. We don't do it here. So it's to start inculcating our children. So it is left for parents, to do that from childhood. Inculcate our values. What do we value? What is acceptable to us? And so on and so forth. So a lot of work will be done by parents, by teachers, by churches, since we are all Christians around this neck of the wood, by churches, and where they have Muslims, by mosques, because these things are eternal laws. They are laws that are fundamental, so that we are not upholding them now is a sad story, and we can go back to relearning.
Thank you so much for saying that. While you're saying we can go back to relearning, you understand, still maintaining the core values of we being Africans, but we seem to be having the more Western way of treating the elderly. Now we have old people's home springing up in part of this country. And that is part of what we are talking against.
Yeah, we are not talking against that, because for me, I always believe that culture is also dynamic. Okay. Even though it's our culture, we do modify things. For instance, I always use the dressing, for instance, as an example. In the past, when I was very, very, very young, maidens or young girls, could go about bare-breasted. Mothers also could go about bare-breasted. But with modernity, we started covering. So if there are good things to copy, we will copy them from the West, or from the South, or from the North, wherever we see it. We can copy that, but that does not change our fundamental, our core values. Now, you talked about, we are talking about having old people, so it is exigency. It is situation that has caused that. Remember, when I was young, in Amobia, we didn't have fences. So you could pass from your compound through my compound on your way to the street. There was no restriction. We didn't have those, high fences.
Barricades and everything.
Barricades and all that. We didn't have those. So the community was more integrated, more close. That is why we also had the saying that you can have a child, but it is the community that brings up the child. So you can have a child, you go to work, the woman next door is looking after your child, But now we don't have that. So we now have nursery schools where we now take our children to, to be looked after while we are at work. And the same thing with our elderly parents. most of the people who would have looked after the elderly parents have all, let me use the word, japa, have all jackpot. They have all gone abroad. They are all in diaspora. If they are not abroad, they are in Abuja, they are in Lagos, they are everywhere but at home. Now, it is only that old woman or old man alone. Some can stay at home, age gracefully at home, because they are strong and they are still independent. But some may become so frail that they cannot look after themselves. You cannot abandon that person in their home when they cannot do anything for themselves. They cannot, do anything, activities of daily living. They cannot bathe, they cannot cook, they cannot clean their homes. You are not upholding our culture. You are not loving that person. So if you love that person, since we now have people who can provide care, who can provide a clean place where they will be properly looked after, where their medical needs will be met, where their physical needs will be met, their psychological needs, their social needs also will be met, so that they can have a holistic care that will enhance their well-being. I would advocate that we should use such services. And such services, we are trying to standardize them so that we don't have quacks. Abusing, the elderly people, but actually taking care of them. And then, of course, it's also an economic venture. So people can invest in that, and so on and so forth. So I don't think it is part of abandoning our culture. It is part of adapting to the what we are experiencing now. The real thing.
Now, the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, part of the reasons for the special day is that communities, organizations, and individuals can recognize the signs of elder abuse and take action to protect the dignity and rights of seniors everywhere.
Yeah.
But you will agree with me that there are some elders that maybe it could be their grandchild abusing them, or maybe their children abusing them, and you may notice some signs, and when you come in, they say, please, no, it's nothing. They try to cover up something like that. Now, in a situation like this, what happens? You have an organization that actually do some of these things. In a situation whereby you find somebody that tries to cover up an abuse, what happens? What do?
You report. Like I said, we have agencies, we have institutions that you can report to. We have the National Human Rights Commission, you can report to them. We work with NAPTIP, you can report to them. We have the federal ministry, ministry, both federal and state, Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, you can report to them. In Anambra, you know that anytime there's any such report, the Commissioner for Women Affairs drops everything she's doing and takes the matter up, not only stopping the abuse, but also making sure that the abuser is educated and punished.
And now, how do we find out those signs, or how do we know that, get to know the signs or understand the signs that this particular elderly person is being abused?
Well, some of the signs will be physical. When you see scars,
on the body,
wounds on the body, they will tell you that the person fell down. And then you will be looking at where, how did the person fall. If you see a wound here and they are telling you that the person fell down, that's a red flag. You know that it can't be true. That it must be more than just falling down. Then you will also see their, the way they look, dehydrated, emaciated. They are not being looked after. They are not being exercised. They are not being fed well, and the person is,
I've heard cases where they say if you have an elderly person in the house and you want to know if the person is being taken care of, just ask the house owner, show me his room.
Yes,
room.
yes.
By entering the room, you will know that person is being taken care of.
Correct. That's
entering the room, just enter the room. If the person is well taken care of, you won't perceive foul stench.
Yes, in that room.
Just enter. Don't even ask the person anything. Just enter the room. Show
Yes.
me the room where he or she is sleeping, and then you get.
And then another way is that the elderly person will be looking withdrawn, especially when the fear, since they are afraid and withdrawn, especially when the people are around. So you watch them, look in their eyes, you will know, because you are asking questions and they are afraid to talk. Why are they afraid to talk? They are afraid to talk because they know that if they say anything, when you are gone, they will get it hot. So you ask them, how are you? You will say, fine. And, you watch their body language. You will know.
Now, still talking about your many resume of activities that you have. The founder, Alzheimer's Disease Foundation, ADF.
Yes.
Can you shed a little bit of light on that?
Yes. ADF is Alzheimer's Disease Foundation. And Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia that we have. There are many forms of dementia. So the word dementia is just an umbrella word or body covering the different types of dementia we have. So Alzheimer's is the most common one that we have. And how do you diagnose Alzheimer's? A layman cannot diagnose. You have to, doctors will do that, and specialist doctors, maybe neurologists and all that. And but what we can see as, that manifests is that the person has lost cognition, the person cannot remember things, the person cannot hold a logical conversation for long, they cannot deal with numbers, they cannot deal with money, they don't know, value of money or something like that, they cannot write. They start losing so many functions, that a normal human being will. Then they have behavioral, manifestations, like sometimes the person may be withdrawn, very quiet. Sometimes the person can be violent. Sometimes the person can be, it's not just here, hallucinating. They will be seeing things that you don't see. They'll be having conversations with people that you cannot
fathom.
Perceive. And they believe what they see, and they believe what they are saying because it is their world and it is their reality, So we say if that happens, don't bother to argue with the person, because arguing with that person makes them more confused and probably agitates them. So there's no need going into that. You just help them to, do what they cannot do. What they can do, allow them. Some people, and dementia is a progressive disease. So it's not going to get better. It's just going to go downhill until the end of life.
The Alzheimer, can it get better?
That's what I'm saying. Alzheimer's dementia is it's a form of dementia. It does not get better. It gets worse as time goes on, and until the person dies. And for now, there is no cure for it. There is no medicine for it. The medication that you give are medications to take care of other comorbidities that the person has. If the person is hypertensive or has diabetes or has any other thing, you treat, those are the medicines you give them.
What could actually trigger this dementia, Alzheimer?
That is another thing research is trying to find out. But as at now, we know, we have been told that it could be genetic. There are genes that will, you know, trigger. That if you have, that you can have, or you may have the genes. You may end up having Alzheimer's. You may end up not having Alzheimer's. Then we found that lifestyle can also be a predisposing factor or something that can trigger it. For instance, people who smoke heavily or drink heavily, you know, those are lifestyle changes that one can make to make sure that they don't, if they have the genes, doesn't trigger it. Do you understand? And so for now, there is no categorical empirical information from research that will say this is what causes it, this is what can cure it. So we're just...
Research has said that when you age, if you get yourself involved in brain tasks, maybe solving puzzles, you know, reading, it could prevent. We do that, but we also find that there are professors who end up having dementia. Even with all what they've read.
There are judges. A lot of, I have two old my friends who were judges. They have dementia now, you know, and they read. So whether it was overreading, I don't know. So what I'm trying to say is that there is no, we are just, everybody just saying maybe. We are still at the maybe stage. Right. And the research, so we are looking for people to support research. There are people that are, you know, researchers, but they need funding. To do that research, so that at the end of the day, we can be able to say, this is it, and this is a medicine. And before I go, there are some drugs that, you know, that was, you know, touted, or I mean, that was said that can cure Alzheimer's. Then, but again, they found that number one, it is astronomically very expensive, and then number two, the side effects were worse than
even taking care of the eyes.
So we have been told to stop that one. More research will go on.
All right, Ma, we're going to take a short break here. The program is still Good Morning Anambra, and we are looking at World Elder Abuse Awareness Day with Iyom Josephine Anini in the studio. She is the former Minister of Human Affairs, and of course she is handling so many things around the elders. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, we talk more on World Elder Abuse Day. Don't go anywhere.
In broad terms, to legislate and provide for welfareist schemes that will take specifically directed at taking care of their own needs, their own special needs, relation to healthcare, relation to nutrition, relation to order, general law and order in the society.
To protect elderly people, what the government needs to do is to set up elderly people's home, elderly people's care home. That whenever somebody is getting old, the person should be taken care of. In other countries, we have it like that. I've seen it even online. I've been watching something like that. So it will help to curtail the abuse of elderly people in every home.
For instance, there is a practice in some countries of the world where you have specialized homes for people of a certain age. Say if you reach the age of 60 or 65, the age of retirement, where you have homes designed to take care of them. to protect them from hazards and safety, to protect them from exploitation of people who will tend to want to exploit that phase of life that they are, where they become very vulnerable. So we can implement such schemes in our own society, in this part of the world.
The society have a lot to do to them. Yes, like elders, it's a blessing to become an elder. These days you see people dying early. So whoever that is privileged to reach the age of elder should be accorded the respect they deserve. Yes, so whoever that is abusing a parent is doing the wrong thing. So we can protect our elders by showing respect, and it's a commandment of God that children should respect their elders. And it comes with a promise so that the person's days will be long here on earth. So we should respect our parents. Yes, we should. It's an obligation from us as their children. And the society at large, show respect to elders wherever you see them.
So I think the best thing is to start from the family by teaching the little ones, the children, what they have to do to respect their elders. It is quite unfortunate that in this generation now you see children calling their parents wizards. Why? Because the children did not follow the instruction given to them initially.
When you talk of elderly people, you talk of those people that need care from their loved ones, maybe their children or grandchildren. They need care. They need utmost care from their children or their wards, anybody around them, relatives that will be there to monitor them. They are not left alone. They can't leave the houses or the premises anyhow. You have somebody that will take care of them. Make sure they bath in the morning, they eat, they dress up, and make sure you keep them in a place there. They are comfortable in sort of.
But the government will come in. Because why I say the government should come in is that now things have changed. The purchasing power of Naira now is 0 to nothing. So government should come in, go to different communities and start helping them, because some of them have children, but they don't take care of them. So government, that pittance the government will give them will help the elderly one to live a fulfilled life.
I think I will take the submission of the last person that spoke, that's talking about Ifitezue, that government should come in because of the dwindling power of our currency. The economy of Nigeria is not smiling, and it's taking much pressure off parents, then how much more taking care of your kids and then your elderly parents. So I think this is where, Iyom, I think this is where you need your advocacy should go to the government as an elder statesperson. You're an elder too, so you could probably you understand, make a case, infuse it into what you're doing so that the government can start paying elderly, will I say, sustenance stipends, you understand, so that these people can get access to their daily drugs and then other care that they will need in order to have a glorious life.
Good news.
Okay.
Good news. Kudos to the federal government of Nigeria.
Wow.
The federal government of Nigeria passed an act establishing the National Senior Citizen Center, NSCC, for the past 4 years. And what has NSCC been doing for the past 4 years? First of all, making sure that all the elderly people in Nigeria.
From what age, please?
From 60. Some say 60, some say 65, depending on your state. You know, and the NSCC has asked every state. First of all, the NSCC, created a mechanism that they called Senior Citizens Consultative Forum on Aging in every state, including the FCT. So that is the one where you said I'm the co-chair. So we have a steering committee in every state, and we have been mandated to get our states to, replicate the same act from the national, domesticate it. Yeah. Now, in this act, everything concerning the elderly is covered. Medical, everything there. And, because when you talk of elderly people, it is a gamut, it is a spectrum. There are elderly people like our president, Buhari, who passed the act. He's an elderly man, but he was a president. We have our present president and our first lady. They are elderly people, and they are very active. And there is no sign that they will be less active in the next 10 years. Do you understand? But then, there are some also elderly people who are not that active. There are elderly people who are billionaires, like Prince Ateze in Anambra. And there are elderly people who are, impecunious, who are very poor, who don't have money. So it's a big spectrum. So when we talk about elderly, it's not as if it is only for the poor people. There are elderly people who are still very, very intelligent. So in one of the programs that we have, we call it Continuing Engagement Bureau under the NSCC. So even if you are retired, you register there online. So that, because these are assets that we don't want wasted. Do you understand? So they will call you and they will give you a job. Either you are going to teach something or you are going to research on something, So that data is being collected by the NSCC at the national level. Right. We have the veterans, okay. You people, journalists, and, and we made them ambassadors of NSCC. All of them have this badge, to talk about it. Some of them are now creating content. Some of them are creating films to talk about elderly and all that. So the government has already taken it. Akwa Ibom has passed Abia State has passed the bill in their state. And they are paying their elderly people, money every month. Yes, the people currently, they just passed it. Oyo State is doing it. All the insurance, they insured all their elderly people. Akwa Ibom, so many states. So it's only in Anambra State.
How do they get to have this data collation, making sure that no elder is, is it kids that their parents, or is it how would they come up with this data collation?
For instance, NGOs, like my NGO, we have a list, we know them.
Okay.
So how do we get our data? That's why the NSCC, the DG, brought it down to the states. Okay. Because we have to, the people, the information has to come from the
grassroots. Yeah.
So if we want to know the number of elder in your community, you go to your town union.
Okay.
They know all the families there. So you get it. So the information, the data is already there.
Okay.
We have.
For want of our time,
yes.
You are the coordinator, Ignatius Akubude Center for Senior Citizens here in Amobia. And I remember vividly, I watched some of your videos last year when you people did some activities for the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. If you don't mind, let us know your plans for this year's events for the elderly.
Okay, this year, what we want to concentrate on is hearing from the elderly people. You asked me, how do you recognize abuse?
Yeah.
We want to ask the elderly, what do you think is an abuse?
Okay.
We want to hear from them. So we're having something like a workshop, apart from many other things we do, but the main activity that day will be hearing the elders speak about their experience, about what they consider is abuse. Because you may not, people may not know that they are being abusing, that they are abusing them. The elderly people will tell us, if you do this, I don't like it, that's an abuse. So we will now know, we will now also be able to start keeping our own records. And so it's a day for the elderly. We do a walk. We do a walk. We must walk so that people outside the
It's equally good for you.
Yes, it's also good for us. Yes, we will do a walk on that day, and so that people outside will say, who are these people? And then we stop to tell them who we are and what we are talking about.
All right, I would like to thank you so much for coming here this morning to talk about the elders. It's been great having a young Josephine Anene MNI, founder of Alzheimer's Disease Foundation, the ADF, coordinator of Nishika Kubu Day Center for Senior Citizens, and of course she is was the former Minister for Women Affairs and Social Development. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. And thank you. And thank you, ABS, for what you are doing, informing people, educating people, anything that concerns the elderly. I think you are champions.
Thank you so much for thanking us. And this is where our discussion is terminating for now. Angelo.
Yeah, because up next is Catch the Bus. Don't go anywhere. The show still continues.